Some of the information you can glean from an IP address is obviously we can get the country information that comes through. For that, we're the most accurate provider at 99.99%, but we can also do city level in the UK at 97%, and what makes us really special is we can go down to postal code sector, and that can be incredibly powerful as you get more and more granular. And there are some other opportunities that you can see in there and some other ways that you can target it, your data from an IP address. A little bit about how it works with regards to some problematic ISPs. This is of the UK, but it's by no means bespoke just to the UK. So some of you guys might be familiar where you've seen targeting not quite work as it should. And this is down to dynamically backhauled traffic. So as you can see in this, I hope you can see it particularly at the back, you've got little greyed circles. These are centralized points of presence. This is handled by the ISP, and when you're routing the internet, as our automated trace agents go out, it circles you back around these circles. This can really misrepresent where your traffic is coming from. My favorite to look at this diagram is you see in the West Country, there's nothing. Well, they do have the internet in the West Country, so there's definitely people over there that you can reach through to. So this is a problem, not just in the UK, it affects other ISPs, and it's really key to come over it. Digital Element have a solution to this problem. Because we've been doing this since 1999, we have a product that's known as NetAcuity Edge, and this allows us to take a more outside-in approach to targeting. So where traditionally you're doing inside-out, this is looking at the outside-in. So what exactly I mean by this is through our commercial partners that we've been working with a really long time, we're able to glean a huge amount of data that comes through. Now, we are, as I said, a company that only looks into this. So we have some of the best engineers in the market able to work on this. And one of the key formulas to this is our algorithm and our ability to take the information we're getting from our traditional methods and then take this data that we're getting from the other methods, put those two together through the algorithm, and ultimately offer the most robust and accurate targeting available in the market and how it works. Now, what that actually means for you guys, obviously this is a postal code map of London, allows you to look at it. When you want to deliver truly relevant content, obviously it's great to know the difference between a London or a Manchester side of things, but how cool is it to be able to say SW19 or E18? The variances that go through this, and this is how granular it goes. We are down to 1,000 to 2,000 households, and this gives you guys the power to truly deliver a message that's local to where somebody is and get the maximum results and return on investment that we can run through. Now, I've got lots of white papers over at our stand. I'll encourage you guys who want to know a little bit more about this, please to stop by, but I really want to hand over to Chris. Chris is the Director of Product over at Infectious Media. He's been working with our data for a while, and he's going to go through exactly what that power means. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about what we're trying to do at Infectious Media to kind of make geo-data a bit more of a differentiator for our clients. A little bit about Infectious. We had our history sort of as an independent trading desk, one of the first in Europe, and that just means we sort of invested heavily in looking at programmatic buying via RTB. So now we've sort of come to be more of a real-time advertising specialist, and that just means we're trying to deliver ads programmatically bought, dynamically adjusted with creative across the entire customer lifecycle. So that's from our words, the acquisition, the growth of the business, and the branding. So how we're doing that, we have a technology layer, and it's supported by expert services. So Impression Desk is our tech layer. We have a proprietary bidder that we've built, a DMP of sorts that we're building, automated machine learning algorithms. All of that kind of plays together, but the focus of all of this really is working with clients directly and working with their first-party data. And the involvement there of the data is around custom segmentation for them, so literally helping them to identify what their users are doing within their data sets and finding that expression online. So that turns into campaign strategies, creative planning, and ultimately delivery through programmatic means. So today, to kind of follow on from what Charlie's talking about, I'm going to kind of come back to looking at the old standard of using geo-data. It's a pretty common tool, right? It's almost commoditized in a way. We see it everywhere, and I think we're trying to find ways to breathe life into that and find more value propositions for the clients, right? So what is it? It's a ubiquitous old technique, right? It's well established. There are several very prominent vendors who provide the basic IP to geo translations, and it's pretty easy to access. You can kind of find some level of this in an ad server, in most DSPs, in any SSP, and it would be surprising, honestly, at this stage, not to find some kind of geo-data. How it's being implemented, really, at an optimization level, you tend to layer it over your delivery, and you look for the segments that are working well, and which geos are stronger in terms of response, or more appropriate in terms of your branding audience. If you take it a bit further, using geo as a proxy for some targeting, right? You can identify whether things are a home or a commercial entity, possibly looking at the industry types. And you could go another step to sort of use geo as an approximation for sociodemographic stats, right? Rich neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods. But at this stage, it's still kind of, I think, bog standard. We're just seeing that application over and over again because it's easy. And how do we push this a bit further? You know, I think what's sort of appealing for us all is that location data on a map is really eye-catching, and we're equally guilty of trying to make some of the coolest looking stuff with maps. But really the end value is getting something back on an ROI level that's above and beyond. So how are we doing this? It all comes back to looking at the first party of the data with the client and then laying technology on top, right? So I'll sort of get to a case study where we worked with Waitrose specifically on this, but in a broad sense, the idea is to not just layer it on top of what they've given you, the client, but rather sit down with the client and find opportunities where their data could be enriched by having a bit more geo implementation, right? Easy with retail and travel verticals. If you can get access and you have that kind of relationship, you can find these opportunities. And of course, as the message suggests, just keep it simple. You can get really crazy, but from a pure delivery perspective, just keep it straightforward. Now, once you've got that kind of baseline, then you want to enhance your data, right? This is where you want to get more and more granular, and that's why I'm standing up here. So the Edge product is one example of that, where we're able to kind of go to the next level of granularity, which is extremely helpful. And there are other opportunities, right? There's mobile and HTML5, which start to allow a bit of latitude, longitude data, or Wi-Fi triangulation. But the reality is, of course, those are kind of limited to mobile campaigns, or if somebody's opted into the HTML5. We're still trying to serve to broad level campaigns to advertisers like Waitrose, so it needs to work everywhere, which is partly why the Edge sits quite nicely for us. So once we've got that enhancement level and we've pushed the data further, then it's just about what we're doing on the buy side in terms of making it more adaptive, right? At the base level of integration, you are making a call to one of these guys to send you some information back, trying to find ways, and this is where we are now, of literally embedding this information deep in the heart of some of our bidding agents, where things are happening at extremely fast rates, and we're looking at information at the bid level. Not simply just a basic lookup, but actually what kind of data can we append there. And this just means the system can react more and more rapidly to what was originally kind of a static data set. All right, so in terms of what we'll call our case study, I'll talk about Waitrose.com. So how did this emerge? We work a lot with Waitrose on a broad range of ideas, right? Between branding and sort of a DR acquisition and growth strategies, we kind of look at the whole cycle. And they're looking to us to help them on the programmatic front. The question, we were sitting down with them and looking through some of the things to tackle, and one of these was, how can they better leverage the capacity of their distribution centers? It's a pretty straightforward question. So with a bit of digging, we said, well, let's focus on the branches, these distribution centers that have the particularly high capacity, see if we can boost the outputs of those. Again, very straightforward. So we sat down and we defined 10 out of, I think, 120 possible distribution centers, sort of identified according to A, their capacity, and B, the sort of density around them, so the opportunity for revenue potential, if you will. So from those, we're able to use more specific postcode data to isolate the zones that we want to target. Set up a campaign, creatives, segments, go, and then the optimization occurs. And with that, we've got the increased granularity, and we're doing the optimization as we would normally. It's a short story, and it's a good one. So the CPA on those campaigns dropped by 85% over the period of the campaign, and honestly over a 2-week period. So what this means is there's an online and an offline tie, right? These campaigns are people clicking on something and buying something on Waitrose.com, and based on their geo, it's asking a specific distribution center to kind of fire that up. So there's a literal measurement that they can see of the impacts of this. So the CPA is truly representative of the impact of that specific level of targeting. And if we look against the backdrop, all the other distribution centers where we weren't giving any focus kind of remained as usual. The lift, of course, was against the backdrop of these same centers before said campaign. So I guess it goes without saying, Waitrose was quite happy with this approach. And we started simple, so now we're iterating. And the basic points of revisiting this by going against some further offline data to dig more into some of the outputs and the feeds that they have on their data distribution centers. It's kind of the end of that story. So it's a short one. I want to thank you for your time, but I guess to just emphasize, this is about kind of coming back to a bit of basics, and if you can work closely with the clients, you can unlock these opportunities. All right, thank you. I guess we have time for questions.
Hi, on the Waitrose example that you just had on the screen, what was the CPA? Was it a click to store or was it a web purchase?
So the question is, was it a click directly to the store or was it a website purchase? So in this case, it's a website purchase, but the link of the purchase is directly to the distribution center in question. So our IPs or geos are linked to a specific distro center. So in effect, I guess it is a click to store approach, but the reality is we're measuring a web metric. So it's possible within that data that you will have examples where somebody has purchased something for somebody else somewhere else, but the way that Waitrose.com is applying this is that purchase links right to the local distribution center, so it can be shipped to them as quickly as possible. Does that answer your question, more or less? Thank you very much, everyone.